I've been doing these videos to try and help my speaking, to try and help my conversational skills, because I feel like that's a problem that I've had, because in real life I don't end up speaking a lot. I'm pretty quiet and I like to observe things. And through this, it's not something that's easy. It's not something that I always enjoy doing, but it's something that I want to continue showing up at, because it shows self-respect for me to continue doing something that I said that I wanted to do, that I said that I wanted to continue doing, and that I had set a goal for with myself. And of course the reasons will change, but the main motive behind it is always to become better at speaking, to get myself out there and to do something that's uncomfortable. I've really been thinking of this idea of identity and whether we can trust our thoughts and beliefs. And I'm not saying this in some kind of woo-woo way. As soon as I said that, I just went straight to like conspiracies and that. But you know, like last week I said in the video that I've been struggling and I continue to have a kind of tough week. You know, I found it harder to get up in the morning. I found my workouts seemed to drag on, and sometimes I would tap out earlier, and a few days I didn't even try to do my workouts. I haven't been out kicking the soccer ball as much as I should be, or as much as I had planned to. And I set these expectations on myself for each day for the week, and I hadn't been meeting them. And I realized that I was giving in to these parts of my brain. Like, yes, I was tired and I needed to have white space to go on walks, to journal and to reflect and to have time for myself. But I was just filling it in with scrolling on YouTube and just kind of wasting my time. I was kind of just numbing myself out from these feelings rather than facing them. And emotions pop up for a reason. You know, they don't just come out of nowhere. They're responses to your environment, to how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you feel you're ranking in a social situation. And sometimes it's just kind of random. Like sometimes you're just like, wow, I'm feeling really sad for no reason. And for me, a lot of times, like I've talked about this before, I just have these deep kind of despairs where I just don't see a point to anything, and I struggle to be able to do anything and just think, oh, fuck it, why don't I just binge eat something? Why don't I just watch some fucking porn stuff and just kind of numb myself out? And that I'm just cringing at myself saying that stuff, because I don't think anyone really likes to be completely honest about who they are and what their dark selves want underneath. But I think that's where a lot of the most important things are, because putting it to the side and then ignoring it is worse. Anyway, I'm just diverging on it, talking about it rather than So basically I've been caught in these patterns where my past doubts, my past beliefs were resurfacing. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to do this, you know, it's not really worth it. And I was basically going into this nihilism, defeatism kind of thing. And if there's no reason to do anything and you give into that and you don't do anything, then what's the point of living, you know? And, you know, to be truthful, there isn't really a point to anything. You know, there's no real point, because one day I'm going to die. If I have kids, they're going to die. If they have kids, they're going to die. Eventually this world is going to come to some sort of point, some sort of conclusion where it dies or it evolves into the next kind of stage, and everything that we knew is kind of gone. And I could kind of go into like the AI kind of thing and think about that this could actually be closer than we think if we're not careful. That's kind of what I was looking at the other day. I just got engrossed in this AI kind of stuff. But just to put that aside for a while and to talk about beliefs, because that's what's important now. That's what I've been working on at the moment. If I kept giving into these thoughts, into these doubts, into these beliefs, I would continue to feed them. I would continue to grow this identity of myself, that I was weak, that I couldn't push through to things. And eventually I would have slipped into this kind of state that I was in before, where it was just kind of numbing binging video games, just ignoring kind of reality and just really feeling bad and shitty about myself, not working out, not eating or caring about my health, staying up late, maybe even drinking, going out more, those kind of things. And eventually that would get me back to the point where I would look back and think, man, I feel disgusting for doing these things. I don't feel fulfilled. And then I'd want to go back onto this. I knew that was going to happen. But the point was that this kind of lifestyle that we're kind of fed is like these highs and these lows and these highs and these lows. And we think that the lows really suck and that we want to have another high, you know, take something that will take the edge off of it. But what if we go into it further? What if we accept it? What if we just sit in that and marinate in those dark feelings? What if we admit those dark feelings and say them and say, David Goggins has this for when you wake up. He has this kind of one of his, what are they called? Evolutions. He has these kind of, I call them shit tapes, where you just like talk about all these bad negative feelings when these poopy pants mentality. I love that. Of when you just wake up, but I'm making fun of it, but I had one this morning where I was like, man, I really don't want to get up. I really don't see how I'm going to get through this day. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish my workout. I don't think I'm going to be able to focus for this meditation that I've got up next. And I really do not want to face a cold shower this morning. And I just kind of looked at that, accepted it, and was like, all right, but we're just going to do the next thing anyway. And as soon as you get into action, you find that you're able to do things, you know, like in the morning when it feels like there's this big daunting task to kind of get at. When it feels like you've got this big workout and you're so tired, and when it feels like you have to stretch after you've had a long day of work, for an example from my life, it feels almost impossible, but then you start doing it and then you're like, oh, this actually isn't as bad as I thought it was. And eventually you finished it and then you're feeling better for it, and then you build that momentum and then you find that you can do other things. Like I always thought that after I finished a day of working, when I do the arborist work, which is kind of heavy manual labor, pulling trees, that kind of thing. It's basically like called glorified gardening, where you're just kind of cutting down big branches of trees, sometimes taking down whole trees, feeding them into the chipper. You have to like drag them across the ground towards the truck where the chipper is, pull it in, which is sometimes, it's harder than you think because there's a certain amount of space that you can actually fit it into. And sometimes the branches are all wiggly and you have to like try and shove it in, or sometimes you have to cut them down a bit more, and just carrying logs, you know. And I think that doing this work has created this big belief in myself, because I shied away from it 2 years ago after I tried a day of it. I was like, no way I can do this and play soccer, no way I can do this and work out. And now I'm working out harder than I was then, I'm eating healthier than I was then, I'm playing soccer on top of that, and I'm doing mobility work as well, and meditating, and getting back into Qigong stuff, as well as recording videos consistently. I'm not just doing one thing at a time, you know. And why I bring up this story is that it shifted my beliefs. I had an experience, I had this proof that I was able to do more than I was actually thought I was capable of. And your mind, all your beliefs, all of the things that you think you can do, all of those feelings of tiredness are based on the past, on what you thought you could do. So every time that you say like, oh, I'm too tired to do this, I'm too tired to do the dishes today. The next day, oh, I'm too tired to do the dishes today. Oh, I'm too tired to do the dishes today. And then you keep making excuses like, oh, you know, I've got so much work on, I just can't do this today, you know, I just can't do it, you know, that's just not who I am, like maybe I'm just not a clean person. And all of a sudden this thing starts to become a part of your identity. You start believing that you're not strong enough to do these things, that you're an unclean person, that you're a weak person. And all of this started from you just saying no to doing the dishes. And would it have been that hard to just start and at least like tidy it up a little bit, or to wash one dish, or to clean up after yourself just a little bit? Would that have been so hard? And your mind will say, yes it is, I can't do that, I don't want to do that. But this is what I was talking about last week with action and fucking motivation. when the moments when you're not motivated, the moments when you're alone are the most important, because nobody else is there to help you. Nobody else is there to motivate you to get the things doing. Nobody else is exerting pressure on you. As soon as you're in a job environment, it's like, oh, I better be acting right, or else other people are going to think bad of me. But the most important thing is how you act when you're by yourself, because that shows who you truly are, what you truly believe, and it builds this inner confidence and inner self-belief that nobody can take away from you. No external circumstance can. And in those moments of doubt, this morning I just found this quote, walk by faith and not by sight. And that kind of hit me, like that's what I had been doing. I wasn't looking for things. I wasn't looking to make sure that I could get there. I was just taking the next action, unsure of where it's going to lead, unsure of whether it's going to work out, unsure whether I could get through this day. And eventually, action by action, you realize that you can, and you start to build this identity and start to realize that you're capable of a lot more than you thought you were. I think that's all that needs to be said to this video. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.